What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV here, and welcome back to another episode of the Premier League Perspective, where we'll take a look at the games just gone the weekend. Well, it was actually last weekend's football, and we'll review the games and we'll go through our score predictions as well, and we'll see how me against Simeon is getting on in the Premier League predictions. There were quite some big games this week, so let's start off. Let's kick off with Leicester against Liverpool, which finished 2-2. Finished 3-1 to Leicester. Simeon's prediction was 2-2. Mine was 2-1 to Leicester. Liverpool. What did you make out of that game? Like, it was a complete nightmare for Liverpool at the end of the day.
It was an interesting one because, you know, for 80 minutes, I mean, I feel like I've said this about Spurs before, but like for 80 minutes, you know, Liverpool were by far the better team. Leicester really didn't offer anything for literally most of the game. And then the last 10 minutes, they kind of sucker punched Liverpool with 3 goals. And obviously the first one was whether it was offside or not. It was difficult to tell, and they drew a line here, and Klopp says they drew the line at the wrong place, and it was a bit of a kerfuffle, that whole Leicester first one. Kerfuffle, yeah. And that got the goal. Then Alisson makes another horrendous error, make it 2-1. They wrap it, and then they wrap it up at the end of the day, make it 3-1. And it's it
was a bit of a disaster for the debutant, wasn't it, Kabak?
Yeah, Kabak. It was a really poor moment for him. Him and Alisson getting completely muddled up for that goal. But I kind of felt for Liverpool after that game. Not obviously, I'm happy that they lost, and you know makes us closer to them. But in terms of just how the game played, like 3-1 just didn't represent the game. It was if it was 1-1 maybe that would have been a bit fairer. But like to lose 3-1 in the manner they did was a bit harsh, because I just felt like they were the better team for the majority of the game.
If Spurs go and do this, everyone's like, oh, you're Spursy this, Spursy that, Spursy this. Why don't Liverpool get the same treatment? Is it just because they won the Premier League and they won the Champions League, but this season they are showing kind of Spursy attributes?
At the moment they are. I guess they're getting a free ride because all the injuries they have and everything, which is fair because they do have a lot of big injuries, which is affecting them. But I think at the moment they are struggling, and what I also find interesting though is like Leicester. Like, it's very interesting because they also play quite a counter-attacking system. They also play quite a defensive system, but no one says like they're boring or anything like that, or their style of play is bad. Only because they're getting the results and they're winning. But like no, which is fair enough, and I don't blame anyone for doing that. But like their style of play isn't that different to like our style of play. It really isn't.
I think it's exactly the same, pretty much.
Like, it really isn't that different. Like for 80 minutes they did nothing in that game, and they went for it last 10 minutes. Mourinho's done that a number of times, and fair enough, they got the result and they deserved it, and they're going great this season, Leicester, and Brendan Rodgers doing a great job. But it's just interesting the perceptions of both teams. Like, no one calls Leicester boring.
It's a results-driven industry at the end of the day.
Yeah, but I don't hear anyone calling Rodgers or Leicester boring or anything like that, and say they play awful football, because no one says it, because it's not true.
Even when we were winning games and not conceding goals at the beginning of the season, people like Jamie Radner were being like, oh, if fans were in the stadium, they won't be having it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Like, and it's just interesting how, people say Mourinho plays fossil football, yet Leicester is sitting second in the league playing very similar football.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Scores on the doors at 20:30. Still, Crystal Palace, Burnley finished 3-0 to Burnley at Selhurst Park. You went 1-1, I went 0-0. We were both off the mark in this one.
Yeah, Burnley are in good form at the moment.
They really are.
Yeah, they're playing quite well. They must be unbeaten in a few. Well, not unbeaten because they lost to City, but they're recently they've
they're on really good form.
Yeah, they've had some really good results, especially after the start of the season they had, where people were wondering again if they were going to be sucked into a relegation battle, but they seem to be turning away from that now again. The bottom three really do look doomed at this point. But you got to say, Burnley, fair play, 3-0. They were 2-0 up after like 5 minutes or something ridiculous, weren't they? And they fully deserved it.
Yeah, and one for my fantasy team, Matty Lowton. I literally just brought him in this week for the Burnley double game week, and brilliant goal.
They were saying VAR was checking the goal to see if it actually happened.
All right, let's move on. Man City Spurs, obviously, we know the score there. You went 2-1 to City. I went 1-0, or I went 1-1. So you gain a point there. So 21-30. The comeback is on.
High over your head ruled you, I thought.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. The comeback is on 21-30. Swiftly moving on to Brighton against Aston Villa, which was 0-0. You said 3-1 to Villa. I said 2-2. So I gain a point back on you there. So it's back on 21-31.
Yeah.
Did you see any of the game?
I saw a bit of it. I know, and obviously we were doing the post-match fan show and whatnot, but I saw a bit of it, and Martinez was the star of the show for this one.
What a keeper he is. I'm telling you, every single game he's pulling off save after save after save.
Yeah, he really is. It's quite a story, him, because the fact that he was on going out on loan, he's like the Harry Kane of goalkeepers. He was just going out on loan all the time, left, right and centre, never nailing down first team place. And then he broke into the Arsenal team and kind of never looked back since then. And this season he's been one of the keepers of the season, you have to say that. And he has an unorthodox way of keeping. He rolls his sleeves up. He likes to get involved, and he's a bit crazy, but it's working for him. And Villa have done well to snap him up. They were choosing between him and Gazzaniga, and they chose him in the summer. And it looks like it's a good choice because he's kept a lot of clean sheets. I think he made 9 saves for the weekend.
I actually think he's one of the best goalkeepers in the Premier League.
He has been this season.
I think definitely up there in terms of when you're looking at keepers that have made mistakes this season. Lloris has had his mistakes. Alisson's had his mistakes. Ederson's had his mistakes. So you've got to say, for the best keeper in the league.
Well, he made a couple of. I remember last week or 2 weeks ago when they played West Ham, he made a couple of really bad ones against Lingard. Lingard pretty much scored because of 2 mistakes. But no, not to denigrate him. I think he's done a really good job this season, and fair play to him for someone who's turned his career around. When you get to like the age that he was when he broke into the Arsenal team, like 26, 27 or something, or 28, he's not even that young. But a lot of people think that's who you are when you get to that age, and you're not going to improve and be anything else. When you're playing Championship and League One like he was, it's very easy for people to just dismiss you. And he's proved that even though he's struggled up until that point of his career, you can still turn it around from that point on.
I actually think he might be better than Leno.
You know what? He's probably been better than Leno this season, for sure. They might be ruining that at the moment.
I think if you're making Team of the Year right now, he gets in Team of the Year as a goalkeeper.
Yeah, I think you would be hard-pressed to find someone better at the moment.
All right, let's move on to Southampton Wolves. 2-1 to Wolves on the night. You went 1-0 Wolves. I went 1-1. So you gain a point on me there. 22-31. The comeback's back on for you, Sim.
Yeah, exactly. I thought Wolves, again, there was a game they were 1-0 down, a great volley from Danny Ings. But I thought they deserved it. They turned it around. They played really, really well on the break. I always feel like in these kind of games, when it happens so often, when there's a cup game and a league game against the same game in quick succession, that the same team never wins twice. And that's the main reason I went for the Wolves win after Southampton won in the midweek. And so it proved. Pedro Neto again turning on the style. Great goal he scored in the second half.
Man.
Yeah, he's turning into a real player.
What
isn't
a player. He is week in, week out providing for Wolves. You know, Wolves haven't had a great season, but he's been one of their shining lights this season.
But he's probably the main shining light, I would say. Him hit that out on the wing, providing regular goals and assists. He's still very young, 21, 22. So he's going to look like he looks like he's going to be a real player.
And since Traore's pretty much gone off the boil a bit this season, he's stepped up.
Yeah, I think he's better than Traore in terms of his end product and everything.
You would have said last season that Traore's really stepped up in terms of his end product and stuff like that. But we haven't really seen that this season.
Yeah, it's not been as good. But yeah. Good win for Wolves.
All right, 31-22 to me. Now we move on to West Brom, Manchester United, which finished 1-1. We both said 3-0 to Man United.
Yeah, that was wrong.
Man United really starting to pull out some really bad results. Out of their last 5 games, they've only won 1, and that was 9-0 against Southampton.
If you actually look at their last 8 games, they've collected 13 points. We've collected 10 points. So it's quite similar to us in terms of form. They really are falling off a cliff a bit, Man United, in terms of results. And not only that, you've got to think about who they've dropped points to. Sheffield United losing at home. West Brom now drawing. So these are games where you're expecting them to get over the line, and it's pretty much cost them the title race. This form.
I mean, I never really believed they were in a title race.
Neither did I. But you think who's going to challenge City at the moment? And United are there.
Like Leicester only.
Not even them, are they?
No one.
They're not really. It's interesting when you think of Leicester. Leicester right now on course for 72 points, and they're second in the league. That's the same as AVB got for Spurs. Yeah, which is interesting.
I know. I mean, unless Man City really fall off a cliff.
Yeah, I can't see that. I can't see them falling. I can see them dropping points, City, but I can't see them dropping as much as the other teams below them. It looks like it's a one-horse race. But in terms of United, they actually got a bit lucky in terms of, yes, they dominated possession and stuff, but West Brom had by far the better chances, and they got lucky at the end when De Gea had to bail them out. But did you feel like there was a couple of controversial moments in there, especially... I know we weren't watching the game live, but did you watch the highlights after or anything?
I've seen bits and pieces, not much to be fair.
Have you seen the goals?
I haven't seen the goals, but I saw a couple of chances, a couple of movements, from the West Ham striker, Diagne, and I actually think he's a really good signing for them. I really do.
Yeah, well, he scored in the first 2 minutes, but he grabbed like Lindelof by the face or something, and I
didn't see it. Sorry,
and Man United fans saying that should be the foul. I can understand what they're saying, why they're saying that. I'll probably be a bit annoyed if it was against us, but what I would say is it was a bit weak from Lindelof anyway, and he should have been able to hold off Diagne. And then the Maguire incident. First of all, Bruno with a great volley, really good volley,
channeling his inner Zidane, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I've seen that goal.
Unbelievable volley from Bruno to get them back in the game. And then this Maguire incident happened, which was a really peculiar one because the free kick comes in and he's very clearly offside, but they don't check the and he obviously goes over for the penalty, and the referee gives the penalty, and they don't check the offside, even though he's very clearly offside, and they call the referee over to look at the VAR to see the foul, and after the game they've admitted that they should have checked for the offside or something. They didn't check for the offside, and I don't know what these refs are doing. I don't know what these refs are doing, man. This is what I'm talking about with VAR. It's not all these problems with VAR. 99% of the time, it's just the incompetence from referees. It's just people using it wrong, and people using the technology. And this is another case in point. Like, it's not VAR's fault. The ref looked at the first image and didn't immediately see that Maguire's like 2 yards offside, and he was just staring at the penalty. Like, you're always going to get incompetence from the refs when even with VAR, you're still going to get subjective decisions and stuff, and it always still leads from human error. And that was a bit of a frustrating thing. But yeah, look, it wasn't a penalty. I didn't feel. But it's interesting because for that Maguire one, it's a tiny touch on Maguire's back and he goes over, but some refs give it, some refs don't. It's just subjective. It's just frustrating because the one with Højbjerg against Everton, you barely see a touch.
Like there's any consistency.
There's no there's barely any touch from Højbjerg, and it's a definite penalty. Yeah, with Maguire, there was barely any touch yet. The ref decides that wasn't a penalty. He overturns his decision. But
see, I wouldn't mind it either way, but there has to be consistency. That's the main thing. I think as long as there's consistency, I think we can all accept decisions. But when there's no consistency, it just leaves it all up in the air and nobody knows what's going on every decision, literally. I
feel like at the moment, if you just get touched in the box, you might as well go down and you might get a penalty. The
modern penalty.
A modern penalty. I definitely feel that was right from Mourinho when he said that. But look, United drawing, just going back to that game, they got away with it because Maguire makes a horrific mistake near the end of the match and nearly lets West Brom in, and De Gea bails them out. But they're struggling at the moment.
They are struggling. I think, to be honest, the whole league is struggling except for Man City.
It really is. That's how it is at the moment.
All right, let's move on. Scores on the doors is 31-22. Simeon's cut the points gap to 9 points. As we move on to Arsenal Leeds, 4-2 to Arsenal. You went 2-2. I went for 2-1 to Arsenal, so I gained a point on you there. But if the game went on for another 15 minutes, you might have got a point there.
You never know. Yeah, because they got back into it, Leeds, after being 4-0 down. Literally, their keeper giving Leeds giving Arsenal 3 goals in that first half.
He is such a dodgy keeper.
He was dodgy against us, wasn't he? I remember, and he was definitely dodgy yesterday.
He looks like a kid in between the sticks there.
Yeah, I don't know how old he is. Maybe 21, or he is a young keeper.
He looks like small build. He looks really young. I mean, he doesn't look up to Premier League standard.
But the penalty he gave away was ridiculous. That penalty he gives away because he's just hanging onto the ball so long. Saka's closing him down. Anyone can see from a mile away Saka's closing him down, but he keeps hanging onto the ball, and in the end, not only does he get tackled, and then he fouls Saka after tackling him, and it was a ridiculous penalty to give away.
It was like he was channeling his inner Eric Dyer.
Literally, and the first goal, he gets beaten in his near post and he definitely should save it. The third goal, again gets beaten in his near post, should save it, although it was quite a good passing move from Arsenal. And they're 3-0 up. And And look, and fair play. Saka, I thought, was fantastic. I've got to give him credit there. But yeah, when it gets 4-2 with 22 minutes to go, you're thinking there's a chance here. But unfortunately, they missed a couple of chances, and Arsenal were able to see it out. But again, Arsenal, although they won 4-2, weren't that entirely convincing.
All these Arsenal fans claiming Aubameyang is back after this hat trick? What do you say to them?
I don't know.
Do you think he's back, or do you reckon it was more of a case that the keeper was pretty poor?
Yeah, I wouldn't say he's back yet. I know he scored a hat-trick, and it was a good hat-trick. I'm sure it might give him confidence, and he might go on a run now. But from what I saw, most keepers, especially the first one, are saving that. And then he got a couple. Then he got a penalty, and then he got Smith Rowe tease him up for an open goal. Look, fair play. He got a hat-trick, but Leeds it was always like a good confidence-boosting team to play against, aren't they? When your things aren't going well, they're going to leave chances for you.
That's why I always thought Arsenal were going to win this game. And it was also big for Arsenal to win because they were so close to each other in the table.
Yeah, they
needed to win that game, especially with that Leeds game in hand. So look, scores on the doors 32-22. Now we move on to Everton Fulham. 2-0 to Fulham at Goodison Park.
And well deserved.
Well deserved as well. You went 2-1 to Everton, so did I. I also went 2-1 to Everton, so shocking. We both got it so wrong.
Yeah, well, Jonathan Madger with a couple of poachers' goals, but Fulham fully deserved it. There was 0-0 at half-time, but it should have been like 2 or 3-0 to Fulham at half-time. I was watching the game. Everton were dreadful. Everton were absolutely dreadful. They had no attacking intent. Richarlison was completely isolated up front. He wasn't able to affect the game whatsoever, and Fulham completely dominated the game and deserved the win. And these are the kind of results they should have been getting in the past few weeks when they've been getting draws, because they've been fairly similar performances in this, Fulham, and they've been unlucky with a lot of games. But they did get the result their performances deserved against Everton. And they completely, I'd just say they completely dominated. Harrison Reed, I thought, in the centre was absolutely phenomenal in central midfield. He was passing, he was moving, he was dribbling past players, and he was setting things up. He obviously set up the second goal as well with a shot from 25 yards, which bounced off the post. And a great result. And Everton, when you think about some of their results this season, Newcastle done the double over them. They've just lost 2-0 to Fulham. Like they've had some really dodgy results.
But they've also had some really good results as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's interesting with Everton at the moment where they're at.
I always feel like that. Everton are always like that, always prone to these kind of losses, especially at home, because I've always thought over the years Everton are one of the worst sides to bet on, because you just never know what Everton side are going to show up. They've always been like that throughout the years. They'll lose to the relegation teams at home, but then they'll have really good games against the kind of top six at home.
They always give the top six a good game.
So that's just Everton.
But I would say as well, without Calvert-Lewin, they did look a little bit lost without Calvert-Lewin, and that's the most frustrating thing, because like against us, when Calvert-Lewin went off, they were still able to get a couple of goals, and we should never have let that happen.
It's Dr. Tottenham.
Should never let that happen. But it was a good result for us, them losing. But it was a bit of a shock for the table. But Everton, I don't know. I know we've had bad results, but like I don't know. Whatever, I'm not gonna say like, cause, you never know with us, but like I know we lost to Brighton, but I haven't seen us being so thoroughly outplayed like that. Like Fulham outplayed them yesterday.
I mean, we were thoroughly outplayed against Leicester. We were thoroughly outplayed against Everton first game of the season. Apart from that, we haven't been like completely outplayed. Apart from Man City as well. I'm saying,
but these are the top teams. Yeah. No, against teams like bottom half.
Maybe against Brighton.
That's what I'm saying. Apart from the Brighton one, where you could argue we probably were, but not as bad as that. They like 2-0, and it could have been worse.
But the fact of the matter is, they're above us.
They are above us, and they got the game in hand tonight against Man City.
Yeah. All right, well, let's see how they get on with there. But scores on the doors with 2 games to go is 32-22. I've restored my 10-point lead at the top as we move on to West Ham, Sheff United. Another impressive result from West Ham, albeit against Sheff United, 3-0. You went 1-1, I went 2-0. So I was so close to getting that 5 points.
Kick of the game.
Ryan bloody Fredericks with his last-minute consolation 3-0 up.
Last kick of the game.
Ridiculous. Last kick of the game.
Well, it's
I
not
was
a consolation
close.
if it's 3-0.
I know, but it just meant nothing, that goal.
Yeah, it did. And I actually celebrated when they saw that third. I actually jumped up, and Dad's like, "Why are you celebrating?" I was like, "It's predictions. You won't understand." But
So look, I gained a point on you there, but I should be gaining 5 points.
happy.
Just so annoying.
Yeah, when it was 2-0, I had a bit of anxiety for a lot of that game. But I was watching that game, and at 1-0, it was very, very open, that game. McGoldrick missed an absolute sitter at 1-0. Should have been 1-0 at that point.
But Jesse Lingard, man.
But yeah, he's had another good game, Lingard. Very good game.
Lingard was running riot. I thought he played so well throughout the whole game. He was having shots all the time, beating men. I mean, I don't think West Ham fans could have hoped for Jesse Lingard to have a better display since coming in.
Well, yeah, he's had a new lease of life, hasn't he, Jesse? So fair play to him. He was going through a tough time at the back end of his United career.
Dele Alli, doesn't he?
Yeah, at the moment he does. For sure. And you got to say that he's really looks like he's got a point to prove, Jesse Lingard. And I know he apparently had a lot of personal problems at the back end of his United career. Obviously, he's still only on loan, but fair play to him for turning it around so far. I know it's only a couple of games, but it's definitely more than he's shown probably in his last, couple of seasons in those 2 games. So,
yeah, but when you got someone who's been out for so long, we always say sometimes it could take a while to get your form back. But he hit the ground running as soon as he joined West Ham. First game, 2 goals. Look at players like Gareth Bale, Dele Alli, who come in after long times out the cold, and they don't look a shadow of their former self.
Yeah, I mean, but you have to see if it lasts, don't you?
Yeah, of course.
It's still only 2 games, but fair play to him. He's doing well at the moment. And West Ham, we just sets up our game against them on the weekend massively.
Don't even want to think about it.
We're 6 points behind with a game in hand, so if we can beat them, we'll be 3 points with a game in hand. But they're currently sitting in 5th, joint level on points with Chelsea in 4th. Doesn't get much bigger, that game on the weekend, and they're in great form as well. And they did it without Antonio, which was even more impressive. But I would say, I did watch the game, and 3-0 definitely did flatter West Ham, having watched the game. But they did get the result, and especially once they went 2-0 up, they were pretty comfortable.
I thought they did deserve the win, though. They definitely deserve 3 points. But look, scores on the doors now.
I'm saying 3-0 makes it look more comfortable than it was.
Yeah, I agree. 33-22 as we go on to the last game. 2-0 to Chelsea. I went 1-0. Simeon went 2-0. So Simeon finally gets a correct scoreline after 3-4 weeks of doing this?
I've got correct scorelines.
Have you?
Yeah, this is my 3rd one.
I thought it's the first one.
No, it's not my first.
You sure? I think we might need a VAR check on that one. Let me know.
It's not my first, because we both got with Everton 2-1 against Leeds.
Oh yeah, you're right about that.
And also, is that my only one?
I think that
might be
your
my
only
one.
one.
Maybe it's my only one. I can't remember. But
well,
anyway,
it's the first one you got that I haven't got.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
So there you go. But 5 points to Simeon, as it is 33-27 as the gap is closing. The gap is closing with a long way to go. But Chelsea, they just don't concede goals under Tuchel.
Yeah, well, we actually got it wrong. They have conceded 1 goal, but it was that own goal from Rudiger with that big mistake. He brought in Kepa actually back into the
side. I know. I've
he?
got bloody Mendy in my team.
Do you? Oh, there you go. That's probably why. And he did all right, Kepa. Newcastle had no threat. I was watching the game. It was all Chelsea. Completely deserved it. It was only a matter of time before they scored.
Yeah.
And they obviously Werner breaking his duck as well. Fair play.
I thought he played really well.
He did play really well. Got man of the match as well. Did he get an assist? Did he get an assist for the first one? I can't remember who scored the first one. But they're looking decent, Chelsea. It was Giroud, that was it. Yeah, he did get an assist for the first one. And
it was parried out from the keeper, wasn't it?
Yeah. You can call it assist or whatever.
Yeah.
He was involved. And they're going strong. They're going strong, Chelsea. I would say he's had a fairly decent run for his first few games. You know who they played? They played Newcastle. They played Sheff Utd. They did play us and they beat us.
Yeah.
Fair play. But then they drew to Wolves. And who was their second game? They won 1-0 against Burnley, wasn't it? So they've had he hasn't had the hardest of runs, but you got to say still in this Premier League, you just got to get the wins on the board as things stand. Well, and you can see now the wins he's had, they've propelled him into 4th place from where they were. So he's already in the top 4 after a couple of weeks. So you got to say he's doing a good job.
Well, the tests are ahead for Tuchel because their next 3 games, they got Southampton away, they play United at home, and then they play City away. Sorry, not City away. They play... Who do they play? They play Everton. Everton at home. So they've got a bit of a tricky run now, so we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, they've got a few hard games, but they'll go in that for the confidence on the back of 4 wins out of 5, I think, under Tuchel now.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to say he's on a roll, and
they just don't look like conceding.
Yeah, I would say that they've literally against every team they've come up against. What was it? What did we say? Burnley, Newcastle, Sheffield United, Wolves, and Spurs. Those 5 teams, all of them, pretty much are not the most we're not the most offensive teams, are we? And they haven't really been tested at the back line. So we'll have to see again. When they play like a Man United or Man City or someone who's more willing to attack, we'll see how they perform. But at the moment, look, they don't look like conceding, but it could be a bit of a false image.
We'll see. We'll see. But, winning breeds confidence.
Because you remember, for example, like when AVB's second season, like for the first 5 games that season, we didn't concede a goal. We're looking really solid defensively, but then it just takes one game where we get battered. All of a sudden, the cracks start to show. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying, the teams they've played are not teams that are going to properly test them.
I think we'll see over the next couple of weeks how they're actually doing, because they've got some hard fixtures coming up. Yeah. So. We'll see about that. But that is it. 33-27. Devon, as Simeon has closed the gap to 6 points, as it was 10 points at the beginning of this week. Sim,
good week.
You feeling more confident now?
Oh yeah, come on. I was always feeling confident.
Nah.
No, not now. It doesn't matter.
Fake confidence.
No, not fake. Not at all. Not at all. It's only a matter of time. The gap's going to keep closing. I could even overtake you next week.
I'm not too sure about that, but we'll see what happens. Let me know in the comments section below who you think is going to come out on top. Do you think Simeon's confidence is rightful? And let me know in the comment section below who you think will win this prediction tournament. As that is the end of our Premier League's perspective for this week. Check out tomorrow as we're bringing out the predictions for next weekend. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.